Radiologist Professor Ashraf Salim is about to conduct the first ever virtual post-mortem of King Tutankhamun.
What if one DNA test just rewrote the story of ancient Egypt?
Professor Zink has extracted and analyzed DNA for the first time. The DNA gives us a chance to find out for certain who Tut's mother and father were.
Not a myth, not a theory, but scientific proof that Tutankhamun's father, Akhenaten, may not have even been Egyptian. His Y-DNA doesn't match the land he ruled.
He had this very bizarre, elongated skull, and he had this weird pot belly and weird arms.
And once that secret got out, the entire history of Egypt's golden age began to collapse. Hidden tombs, erased names, foreign bloodlines, a radical god.
Now, the typical view is the Aten must be the sun, but it is entirely possible that what Akhenaten was seeing was in fact an extraterrestrial flying craft.
This isn't just a new discovery, it's a forgotten war for Egypt's soul, finally exposed.
And that read, An Khipiru Ra. An Khipiru Ra was not King Tut.
The DNA breakthrough that changed everything. For decades, Tutankhamun's lineage was cloaked in mystery. Scholars guessed, artists sculpted, tour guides theorized. But nobody truly knew who his father was, not with certainty. Then in 2010, a team of Egyptian researchers led by Dr. Zahi Hawass and supported by Swiss geneticists conducted one of the most groundbreaking forensic projects in Egyptology. Using next-generation DNA sequencing technology on 11 royal mummies, they uncovered something shocking. The DNA profile of the man believed to be Akhenaten, Tutankhamun's father, did not match what they expected from a pure Egyptian pharaoh. Instead of typical North African haplogroups, Akhenaten's Y chromosome belonged to haplogroup R1b1a2, a lineage today found predominantly in Western Europe, especially in places like Spain, France, and the UK. Around 70% of British men today carry this haplogroup. In contrast, less than 1% of modern Egyptian men carry it. That discrepancy raised alarm bells and whispered theories into roars. Could it be possible that the father of one of Egypt's most iconic kings shared closer genetic roots with prehistoric Europeans than the ancient Egyptians themselves? Immediately, theories started flying. Some claimed this proved the presence of foreign infiltration at the top of Egyptian power, perhaps even the secret existence of an earlier lost civilization that seeded dynasties in Egypt. Others pointed out that R1b1a2 likely originated in the Caucasus region, adding fuel to the idea that Akhenaten was linked to Indo-European migrations, or even the ancient Mitanni royal family, known to intermarry with Egypt's elite. It got wilder. A fringe group of theorists tied this discovery to Atlantean bloodlines, believing Egypt's rulers were descendants of an advanced seafaring civilization lost to history. And it wasn't just genetics. Artistic depictions of Akhenaten have always stirred confusion. With his elongated skull, wide hips, and narrow limbs, he looked nothing like a traditional masculine warrior king. Some Egyptologists believed this was just symbolic art. But now, paired with his foreign DNA signature, others began to wonder, was the art trying to tell us something literal? That he was physically and genetically different? Akhenaten's origins. Was he even born in Egypt? The moment scientists announced the unusual genetic signature of the KV-55 mummy, believed to be Akhenaten, everything about Egypt's 18th dynasty cracked open. Now that we know his DNA doesn't align with typical ancient Egyptian markers, the next obvious question is this: was Akhenaten even born in Egypt at all? For centuries, Akhenaten baffled historians. He was the pharaoh who dared to upend thousands of years of tradition, replacing Egypt's rich pantheon with the worship of one solitary sun disk, Aten. But this wasn't just a theological rebellion. It was cultural, artistic, and deeply personal. His temples were wide open to the sun. His statues depicted him with soft features, elongated limbs, and a strangely effeminate body. Even his children, including Tutankhamun, were often shown with similar features. Theories flew. Was it Marfan syndrome, an artistic choice, or something more intentional, a clue hidden in plain sight? Now, with the DNA pointing toward a foreign Y chromosome haplogroup, scholars are revisiting earlier controversial claims. Several have linked Akhenaten to the Mitanni, a powerful kingdom in what is now northern Syria and southeastern Turkey. The Mitanni rulers had Indo-Aryan names, and many of their royal women were sent to Egypt as brides. One such Mitanni princess, Kia, is believed by some to have been Akhenaten's wife, or perhaps his mother, according to bolder theories. There's also mounting speculation that Akhenaten might have never been Egyptian in the first place, but a foreign-born prince raised in Egypt through strategic marriage alliances. Some fringe researchers claim he might have been smuggled into Egypt as a child from Armenia or the Caucasus region, which aligns eerily with the genetic findings. His entire reign, then, could be seen as a quiet takeover, not through war, but through bloodlines and ideology. Even his obsession with monotheism raises eyebrows. Atonism, the worship of one god, bears similarities to later Abrahamic faiths. Was Akhenaten influenced by earlier, now lost monotheistic beliefs from the Near East? Or was he sent as a sort of cultural emissary to reshape Egypt's spiritual future? Hidden clues in royal mummies, the genetic trail of the outsiders. Once the genetic profile of Akhenaten sent shockwaves through the archaeological world, researchers didn't stop there. They expanded their DNA investigation to other key members of the royal family. And what they discovered was even more disturbing. A pattern. The foreign genetic markers found in Akhenaten weren't isolated to him alone. In fact, they appeared in at least 3 other royal mummies, suggesting that Egypt's elite may have been interbreeding with outsiders for multiple generations. Start with Yuya and Thuya, 2 powerful nobles and the maternal grandparents of Akhenaten. Their mummies, uncovered in pristine condition in the Valley of the Kings, shocked scientists when DNA results showed a notable absence of common Egyptian haplogroups. Yuya's genetic profile suggested affinities with populations found in modern-day Armenia, northern Iran, and even parts of southern Europe. Scholars began wondering, were Yuya and Thuya foreign advisors or emissaries married into the royal line to cement a political alliance? Then came the testing of the younger lady, the name given to the badly damaged female mummy believed to be Tutankhamun's mother. Her DNA matched Akhenaten's. She was his sister. But disturbingly, she shared the same non-Egyptian paternal lineage, reinforcing the idea that the foreign genes were entrenched, not accidental. The fact that 2 siblings with the same foreign Y DNA were allowed, even encouraged, to marry and produce a pharaoh hints at a closed-loop dynasty, deliberately preserving a non-native bloodline at Egypt's highest seat of power. Some scholars now theorize that this web of foreign genetics may have been part of a centuries-old strategy, one where elite outsiders slowly infiltrated Egypt's priesthood, military, and political system until they controlled it from within. These findings have also led to speculation about foreign priesthoods, perhaps aligned with Akhenaten's radical religious reforms, aiming to eliminate the influence of Thebes and its god Amun in favor of Aten, a symbol, some believe, of an imported sun cult from the East. This changes everything we thought we knew about ancient Egypt. When scientists realized that Tutankhamun's father, most likely Akhenaten, carried a foreign Y DNA lineage, and that this same anomaly was echoed in other royal mummies, it didn't just suggest a new family tree. It shattered the very pillars of Egyptian historical identity. Because if the pharaohs of the 18th dynasty, the dynasty that included Amenhotep III, Akhenaten, and Tutankhamun, were genetically connected to foreign populations, then much of what we've been taught about Egypt being an isolated, self-contained civilization suddenly feels outdated. This wasn't some minor clerical tweak to ancient history. It suggested that the throne itself might have been compromised, or re-engineered, centuries earlier. Akhenaten's rise wasn't just the story of a heretic pharaoh. It could now be seen as the final act in a slow-motion dynasty swap, guided by priesthoods, foreign marriage pacts, or even shadow empires whose names were erased from official Egyptian records. Even the monotheistic revolution Akhenaten pushed, the worship of Aten as the sole god, takes on a new meaning. What if it wasn't a spiritual epiphany, but an imported ideology, possibly rooted in earlier Zoroastrianism or some now-lost Anatolian or Levantine cult? Some historians even propose that Atenism may have influenced or been influenced by early Hebrew monotheism. And this opens a controversial but fascinating debate. Could Akhenaten have been a cultural bridge between Egypt and the figures we now associate with biblical tradition? This new interpretation also affects our understanding of Egypt's decline. The sudden collapse of the 18th dynasty, the return to traditional polytheism, and the erasure of Akhenaten's name from monuments. All of it might have been a national reset, an attempt by native Egyptian factions to reclaim their identity after generations of foreign manipulation. And yet, some mysteries remain. How did such a radical bloodline change occur without a massive military invasion? Who orchestrated it? Was there a deeper reason the mummies were buried in hidden or poorly marked tombs away from their glorious ancestors? The forbidden tombs and why they tried to bury the truth. If all the clues were hidden in plain sight, why did it take over 3,000 years to realize Tutankhamun's bloodline wasn't entirely Egyptian? The answer might lie not in the DNA, but in how these rulers were buried, and more importantly, how they were not. Unlike the towering pyramids or grand mortuary temples built for Egypt's most beloved pharaohs, Akhenaten's remains were scattered, hidden, and misidentified. His burial site at Amarna was defaced. His name was chiseled out of inscriptions. His statues were smashed. And the mummy found in KV 55, long believed to be him, was dumped into a mismatched coffin, stripped of royal inscriptions. Even the gold faceplate was removed, a symbolic act of total erasure in ancient Egyptian belief. It was as if someone was desperate to erase every trace of him from history. But why? Some believe the burial chaos wasn't just political vengeance for his religious rebellion. Instead, it may have been a coordinated cover-up, an attempt by Egypt's high priests or new rulers to bury the truth of his origins. And they didn't stop with him. Tutankhamun, despite being a pharaoh, was buried in a small tomb more suited for a nobleman. His burial chamber was hastily painted, and much of the treasure within was reused from other reigns. Even his death at just 19 is still debated. Was it illness or something more sinister? Then there's the younger lady, Tutankhamun's mother. Her body was hacked apart after death, skull fragments shattered. Her chest was violently torn open. Some Egyptologists believe it was grave robbers. Others believe it was ritual desecration, a warning to anyone who dared protect the bloodline. So now a new theory is emerging, that Egypt's post-Amarna rulers weren't just rejecting Akhenaten's religion, they were systematically destroying the entire genetic memory of a foreign dynasty. A dynasty that had infiltrated the throne, altered religious doctrine, and threatened the native Egyptian identity. If this is true, then what we've inherited in modern textbooks is not Egypt's history, but a carefully reconstructed version edited by those who took back control. Could the Exodus story have been inspired by Akhenaten's fall? For years, the biblical Exodus, the dramatic story of Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt, was treated separately from Egyptian history. But now, with Akhenaten's foreign bloodline exposed, and his strange monotheistic rule abruptly erased, a radical theory is resurfacing. What if the Exodus wasn't a myth, but a distorted memory of Akhenaten's fall? Here's where it gets eerie. Akhenaten's reign is the only time in Egyptian history when the empire officially worshipped a single god, Aten, the sun disk. He outlawed the worship of Amun, closed temples, and declared all power flowed from Aten. This directly mirrors the core of monotheistic belief systems that emerged later in the Levant, including the Hebrew concept of a single omnipotent god. Even stranger? After Akhenaten's death, there was massive political upheaval. Records vanish. Tombs are smashed. His city, Akhenaten, modern Amarna, is abandoned. Some historians believe his followers, now religious outcasts, may have fled Egypt, especially if they were already seen as foreigners. Among them, perhaps Semitic-speaking workers, scribes, or elite converts who carried his radical ideas with them. Egyptologist Sigmund Freud himself proposed this theory in the early 20th century, suggesting Moses was an Atenist priest who adopted Akhenaten's teachings and later became the founding prophet of a new religion after being forced to flee. It's controversial, no doubt, but now, with Akhenaten's DNA revealing non-Egyptian roots, the idea of a foreign-born elite leading a monotheistic group out of Egypt doesn't sound so implausible anymore. And what about the plagues? The book of Exodus describes plagues, darkness, water turning to blood, symbols often interpreted as natural disasters or divine punishment. Some researchers have tied these events to the volcanic eruption of Thera, Santorini, around 1600 BCE, which would have triggered environmental catastrophes. But if that timeline overlaps with the collapse of Akhenaten's regime, it raises a disturbing possibility. Was Egypt in chaos not because of Moses, but because of Akhenaten's downfall, and the gods returning to punish what they saw as heresy? The mystery of the elongated skulls. Was Akhenaten hiding a lost bloodline? One of the most bizarre and visually jarring legacies of Akhenaten's reign is the way he, his wife Nefertiti, and their children were depicted in statues and carvings. Elongated skulls, sloping foreheads, narrow faces, wide hips, and distended stomachs. For years, Egyptologists chalked it up to stylized art or symbolic representation of divine status. But now, in light of the foreign DNA findings, a more chilling possibility is emerging. What if those depictions were accurate? Recent CT scans of the KV-55 mummy, believed to be Akhenaten, revealed a slightly elongated skull, not extreme, but enough to raise eyebrows when combined with his family's artistic portrayal. Meanwhile, Tutankhamun's skull also displayed unusual cranial features, including a pronounced occipital bone, the area at the back of the head, which some argue could be hereditary. That has led researchers to revisit ancient theories about cranial deformation, a practice found in many ancient cultures, from the Paracas of Peru to the Huns of Central Asia, where elite infants' skulls were intentionally bound to elongate them. But here's the catch: there's no archaeological evidence of head-binding practices in 18th dynasty Egypt, which means these royal skulls may have been naturally shaped that way. So where did this trait come from? Some scholars have started exploring genetic links to Caucasus and Anatolian populations, where similar cranial features occasionally appear. Others go further, theorizing that this lineage may trace back to an even older, now-lost population, one that predated dynastic Egypt and passed down unique physical traits that resurfaced in the Amarna period. Then there are fringe but strangely persistent claims that Akhenaten was a hybrid of sorts, either descended from a pre-Egyptian race of advanced beings or part of a secret bloodline preserved across regions and centuries. While there's no evidence to support alien theories, the genetic and physical anomalies keep these ideas alive, especially as more mummies are scanned and tested. And in one of the most chilling twists, tomb artwork from Amarna shows the royal family with glowing sun discs hovering directly above their heads, often touching them with rays shaped like hands. To ancient observers, this may have symbolized divine blessing. But in the modern age, it raises a more uncomfortable question. Were they worshipping a sun god or remembering something they had once actually seen? The Amarna letters, foreign correspondence that reveals Egypt's hidden alliances. While DNA and tombs reveal the secrets of blood, there's another buried archive that exposes the secrets of power, the Amarna letters. Discovered in the late 19th century at the site of Akhenaten's abandoned capital, Akhenaten, modern-day Amarna, these clay tablets are one of the most overlooked yet explosive clues that something deeply foreign was happening at the heart of ancient Egypt. Written in Akkadian cuneiform, not Egyptian hieroglyphs, the letters document international diplomacy between Egypt and kingdoms in Mesopotamia, Anatolia, the Levant, and beyond, including Babylonia, Mitanni, Assyria, and city-states like Byblos and Jerusalem. But here's where things get strange. The tone of the correspondence reveals a desperate Egypt, one that wasn't commanding foreign powers but negotiating, pleading, even begging for political support, tribute, and royal brides. In one letter, the king of Mitanni offers his daughter to be married into Egypt's royal family. In another, a vassal ruler from Canaan cries out for military reinforcements, claiming his city is being swallowed by enemies, and accuses Egypt of abandoning its foreign territories. The sheer volume of these letters, and the fact they were found all in one place, suggests that under Akhenaten, Egypt's once feared empire was increasingly dependent on foreign diplomacy and strategic marriages, not divine strength or military conquest. And here's the kicker. The letters stop abruptly. No records continue after Akhenaten's reign. It's as if his sudden fall erased not just his religion, but Egypt's entire foreign communication system. This dovetails perfectly with the genetic data, a dynasty infused with foreign DNA, maintaining foreign alliances through royal bloodlines, and possibly importing not just wives, but political ideologies, languages, and even religious beliefs. Egypt, in the Amarna period, was not the isolated kingdom we imagined. It was the center of a vast, fragile web of influence, and Akhenaten sat at its core like a spider spun from another world. Could this network of foreign powers have supported Akhenaten's radical rule, and then vanished with him when the native priesthood rose up? Were these letters the paper trail of a takeover that began with marriages and ended in religious collapse? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe and click the card on screen.